Meet Max Padrid. He's just like most other 13-year-old boys, dealing with growing up, trying to fit in with his peers, and doing his best in school. But unlike a lot of kids, Max also has to deal with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, a complicated condition that can show up as a puzzling mixture of surplus energy, racing thoughts, and an inability to concentrate. It hasn't been easy, but Max is now successfully managing his ADHD with a total treatment program that includes educational, behavioral, and social approaches, along with a newly approved medication called Concerta.
My wife and I were aware that Max was a very busy child, certainly compared to our daughter, and I think we became aware of that maybe when he was 6 or 7 years old. Max could not sit at the dinner table. Max literally would walk around the dinner table during dinner, talking constantly.
He was almost overwhelming to his friends. He loved to throw his arm around their neck and was very physical with them, not like punching and fighting physical, but just kind of in your face, up against you. No idea of personal space.
I would say things I wouldn't mean to say, and I would do things before I thought about them, and that would get me into trouble.
We couldn't go to any activity that required that Max be indoors and restrained for any more than 5 or 10 minutes.
As Max got older and became more verbal, he began demanding much more attention from all the members of the family.
And that seemed to be a kind of demand which was way out of proportion to other children that we knew.
ADHD affects everyone in the life of the child. In 4th grade, Max's inattentiveness, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness clearly disrupted the class.
My teachers would get annoyed at me. I'd keep talking. I wouldn't be able to sit still. I was a very, wired person. I always had energy.
After a while, it became clear to us that it really wasn't even something that Max was controlling or was in control of. It was almost as if there were all kinds of electrical discharges going off in his brain, and he didn't know which one to attend to, so he was attending to them all.
Max's story is pretty common. He's one of an estimated 3 million children in the United States who suffer from ADHD. This condition affects approximately 3 to 5% of the school-age population, with boys diagnosed 3 to 4 times more often than girls.
The criteria for an accurate diagnosis are actually very specific. They require that the symptoms of inattention or hyperactivity last for at least 6 months, and that some of these symptoms are present before the age of 7. Now, no one really knows the exact cause of ADHD, but it's clearly related to the functioning of the brain. In many cases, there are actually several factors associated with the condition. These are both genetic and environmental. But ADHD seems to run in families. The good news is that ADHD is a medical condition, and that means it can be treated.
As Francine and Phil tried to find the explanation for their son's behavior, they read about ADHD. Max fit the profile. So they had him evaluated at the University of Chicago, where they both worked.
It was absolutely clear at the end of the exams that Max did in fact have ADHD.
The doctors at the Children's Psychiatry Unit at the university recommended a total treatment program, which included both behavioral approaches and medication.
When Max was prescribed medication to deal with the problem of ADHD, both my wife and I were concerned the way most parents are about the whole idea of giving medication to your children. However, once we really studied the disorder of ADHD and came to understand it as a physical neurologic problem as well as a behavioral problem, we became much more comfortable with the idea of trying medication.
Concerta is one of the new medications that may be able to help patients with ADHD. The key benefit of Concerta is that one dose lasts all day and through the early evening, helping the child stay focused through 12 hours. Concerta is a form of methylphenidate, a stimulant that has been the most widely prescribed medication for treating children with ADHD over the past 30 years.
Both the safety and the efficacy of methylphenidate has been established by many studies.
Concerta is the first once-daily methylphenidate medication for ADHD that works effectively through 12 hours.
Concerta is remarkable in terms of the technology of how it actually delivers the medication after you swallow it.
Part of the Concerta tablet dissolves immediately after being swallowed in the morning, giving an initial quick dose of medication. The remaining drug is released at a controlled rate, continuing to reduce the symptoms of ADHD throughout the day. Concerta uses an advanced version of an extended-release drug delivery technology that has been used safely for nearly 20 years in more than a dozen medications sold widely around the world, such as Sudafed 24-hour. One Concerta tablet should be taken in the morning with or without breakfast, with the help of water, milk, or juice, swallowed whole and not chewed, divided, or crushed, because it won't work correctly unless it's swallowed intact.
When Max started medication, it was like he was a changed child. I mean, all the best parts of him were allowed to come out. He had a much better life in school. He started to have more friends. We could do all of the things that we'd always thought we wanted to do as a family that we could never do before. You know, it was easy to go out for dinner. You could sit and have a conversation. We could do car trips. Airplane trips were fun. It was a big difference.
I definitely have a lot more friends now that I'm on the medication because of my behavior around them. I'm much more under control and they want to be around me. I'm a much nicer person to be around.
Since he's been on Concerta, his ability to focus, to enjoy himself, to take responsibility for the things he has to take responsibility for, and to have fun when he wants to have fun, all those things come easy to him.
The once daily dosing of Concerta eliminates the need for in-school and after-school dosing.
And that will avoid the embarrassment that I personally have heard from children, which they dislike about taking medication 2 or 3 times a day.
I would have to go down to the nurse's office and it was sort of embarrassing to have people see me take my medication and then they would tell their friends. I like Concerta because I don't have to worry about taking it and people seeing me. I try not to, let a lot of people know because it's sort of a personal thing.
Other people don't need to know anymore about whether children are taking medication or not. It can be a private situation. I think that's very important.
Yep.
We have the kind of family life we were always hoping to have. We just have the greatest time together. And I think if I had to say what's the one benefit among all that really makes me happy to see him the way he is now, it's the fact that he and I can start to relate as father and a son, which is the way I was always hoping we could be able to do.
We know that about 70 to 80% of people with ADHD respond quite well to medication. And we know that Concerta, like the other medications used for ADHD, should be part of a total treatment program. Now, that means behavior management. And that means working with the children, with the parents, and with the teachers.
Counseling with trained professionals can help both the child with ADHD and his parents learn valuable skills.
I've never done it for mornings or bedtime.
Children with ADHD need more structure and more consistency than other children do. So parents have to be much more consistent and much more structured than they would be otherwise. Parents have had success with having their children do their homework in the afternoon, at the same time, in the same place, and for the same length of time every day. Make sure the child understands the assignment before he begins, and break up work into small, manageable blocks so that tasks can be focused on one at a time.
So that it's something that isn't
Stay in close contact with the teacher. A tool that has helped many families do this is a special notebook in which the teacher writes what's expected of the child on a daily basis. The parent signs each day's entry, which keeps the school-home connection strong.
Awesome job on that assignment, Natalie.
Kids thrive on praise, so focusing on success is a good way to reinforce their self-esteem. On the other hand, establishing clear consequences when they don't meet expectations and then following through with those consequences is another good way to bring about good behavioral changes. ADHD can continue into adolescence and even adulthood, where it affects relationships and work. But there's reason to be hopeful. With a total treatment program where we put in the best of medicine, the best of behavioral approaches, a lot of support at home and school, there's really no reason why a kid with ADHD can't manage, get along in their day-to-day life, be effective, set goals, and reach those goals, like Max.
When I get older, I would like to be a psychiatrist.
He's smart.
I want to go to Duke for college.
He's energetic.
I think I want to live in Florida or California.
He will get what he wants in life.
I want to have one kid.
He's charming.
But I've learned if my wife wants to have two, I'm not going to argue because, don't argue with women. I've learned that. It's not good. It only gets you into trouble.
If your child or someone you care about is struggling with the daily challenges of ADHD, ask your family doctor if once daily Concerta can help. Concerta. One dose lasts from home to homework. Millions of families are coping with ADHD with the help of support groups and other resources that are also available to you. For more information about ADHD or to find out about support groups near you, contact these organizations. This video was sponsored by Alza Pharmaceuticals and McNeil Consumer Healthcare.